Welcome, everyone, to Blue Collar Startup, the podcast where hard work meets big ideas. This is your home for real talk, real stories, and real strategies from the front lines of life and the business of the trades. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Nelson from Five Towers Media.
And I'm your co-host, Derek Foster, Daigle Cleaning Systems.
Yeah, you are. I have to say it
We're
every time,
back.
Derek. I'm sorry.
I know it's funny. I wait for it every
I
time.
know you do. I know you're like looking. It's like he's gonna say it no matter what. Derek, how are we doing, man?
Good, good. Super excited about our guest today. We'll introduce him shortly here, but all's good, man. Been a busy continuing to be a busy start to the year. So very excited. Just a lot of good things happening. How about yourself?
Yeah, same. I was kind of chuckling to myself earlier because every time you and I get on the episode before the show starts, we lament about all the trials and tribulations of owning a business in the current environment, and it just makes me laugh. It's like we get like 5 minutes of uh, group therapy here every
That's
week
right.
before the episode starts. But no, all good things over here, man. We're just trying to work through our plan for the year and keep things rolling and deal with the daily challenges. I'm sure our guest is going to talk a little bit about with us too, because all business owners face them. But yeah, I got a lot to be thankful for, so I'm trying to focus on that instead of just pissing and moaning all day every day. But I
Who's
could,
listening?
I
Hey,
could, yeah, exactly. So
well,
go
we
ahead.
were also talking about listenership and some of the things that we're doing to help grow the audience and everybody, if you could, who has tuned in and does grab some value from the show, if you could give us a like, share, send us over to a friend, it would be much appreciated.
Yeah, my team actually, Derek was telling me we need to get people to subscribe on YouTube.
Okay.
So that's our goal right now. We're in the hundreds on YouTube, but that's not where most of our stats are coming from right now. And they said we need to get our YouTube stats up. So subscribe on YouTube, please. Like, subscribe, leave a review, please.
Got to
Uh,
build that base.
that's right. Building the base, building the base. Uh, and if you do subscribe on YouTube, then you can see some of the new formats that we've got going around. Derek and I are actually recording two episodes today, and one of those episodes, the one that we're about to do, is our interviews from the field format, where we're talking to business owners in the field about where they came from, how they build their business, what they see every day. And then, of course, also, and then our next interview is actually going to be with Stacy Spector doing our first Women in the Trades. She's bringing on her guest, Lori Layton from Catamount Consulting. They're going to talk a little bit about what they see every day. Excited about that interview. Also, with Catamount, we do a monthly roundtable discussion with those guys where a lot of that stuff is going to be mindset or leadership, growth talking, personal, professional development. So really excited to add that to the mix. And of course, our the other format you guys will be seeing from us is our Let's Ask Bill or our lab episodes where we bring Bill Tanzi from the OpEx shop in, and he's kind of given us some unbeknownst to him, or maybe it's beknownst at this point, but giving us some free coaching and consulting here and about structuring your business and building process and org charts and all the things that you need to build and grow a successful business in today's environment. So excited for all those new episodes. Of course, if you haven't heard, we've got our Patreon side, and that's where each episode we try to spend a few minutes with each guest, really getting into some of the things that we feel will help businesses, specifically in the trades, help them grow, help them scale, whether it's marketing, sales, operations, project management, finance, you name it. We're trying to get you guys some real on the ground insight from people that are doing it, have done it, and are, hopefully where you want your business to be at some point. So check us out on the Patreon side. Of course, link will be in the show notes. And then real quick, D, you want to give a shout out to our sponsors? You got the list up or?
Yeah, as always, we're very grateful for all of the local businesses here in the Albany area who are supporting the show and helping us to be able to put out this content and hopefully help some people along the way. So big shout out to People Ease, Martin Electric, MLB Construction, Bonaccio Construction, the Michaels Group, Catamount Consulting, the Northeast Construction Trades Workforce Coalition, Doug and Pam over there, Curtis Lumber, Cattlemount or Daigle Cleaning Systems, my team, of course, for allowing me some of the bandwidth to be able to jump on the show here, and Mike's team over at Five Towers Media. Thank you to all those folks.
Big thank you. Big thank you. So I guess we should probably introduce our guest, huh?
Absolutely. Let's get to
it.
All right.
So Rich, so that I don't mess anything up, which I often do, why don't you go ahead and just give us a quick who you are and what you guys do.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. No one's perfect. So, we appreciate the opportunity to be on the show. Derek, Mike, thank you very much. I'm Rich Ruzzo. I'm the managing partner and founder of Shepherd Communication and Security. We are a commercial security services company. We do fire alarm and access control and inventory, slips, trips, and falls, right? So it's cameras, it's access, it's fire, it's perimeter alarm. It's all the things that you want to kind of keep always in the forefront as a business owner, right? You've got to protect those assets. You got to protect your people, and you got to protect your business from exposure and liability and peril. So we bring all of the infrastructure that's necessary, whether it's life safety code, like I said, with fire alarm, or it's the necessary ability to control your doors, who comes and goes out of your warehouse or your office, and what happens when they're in there, right, with surveillance and AI augmented camera systems. So that's what we do. We've been doing it since 2007. We got our master alarm license in New York State in 2010, and we've experienced and grown and seen and got lots of stories to tell. So appreciate the opportunity to tell them.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's funny, Rich, too, because when Derek first put the thing on the calendar, I looked at it and I was like, communications, and I was like, how is that blue guy? I called him. I'm like, hey, bro, what's the blue collar angle on these guys? And what's funny about that, and he of course put me in my place and was like, dude. But it's what's interesting though, and we've been having this conversation a lot, is people don't understand all the different industries that the trades are a part of. And you may see surveillance equipment and think oh, that's an IT company or it's a technical company, but realistically, when you guys look at what you're doing, it's pretty blue collar, right?
Oh, for sure. And we can't tell you how much we appreciate the fact that we have a rich environment of trade-oriented folks, whether you're an electrician converting to, ours it's division 27 and 28 in the construction work trades, right? So it's all low voltage work. Or you're an HVAC guy, or you're a mechanic. You come out of the service, you come out of some of the secondary school. HVCC's got a great program for electrical and electrician trade, junior 2-year degree trade program. We will bring all those people in, and our business is on a ladder, on a lift, pulling a wire, mounting a device, drills, mollies, back boxes. It's all tradecraft. And we've got some of the best in the business. So.
Yeah, well, and it's an interesting thing because, a few of our interviews recently, it really points out the fact that no matter what the industry is, the trades are there. And I've had this conversation online and offline with people where they're unhappy with their career or what they're doing. I'm like, go into the trades. There's so much work in the trades. And then when I say that, their first thought is always well, I'm going to be up on a roof, I'm going to be framing. And I'm like, no, there's so many industries these days that the trades are just inherently a part of. And you can't just look at it face value and be like, oh, IT company, because they're doing video surveillance, or Bassett Healthcare we had on a few weeks ago, where it's you see healthcare and you're like, how is that the trades? But then you realize dude, there's a whole division of construction that goes on in those organizations. So
yeah, our guys drive around in large, utility vans, right? Envies and ProMasters. They're full of tools. They're full of ladders. These guys are up in the rafters, getting a wire down a piece of conduit. But
Hmm.
then once the bulwark, the rough-in, if you will, of our trade is done, then becomes the trim out and the programming. So our particular trade, life safety, electronic security, like I said, Division 2728, requires you to not only have that ability to kind of get horizontal and vertical with a wire, but you got to be able to pull the laptop out and then program the equipment. So
Hmm.
we really span and give trades folks an opportunity to not just be, like you said, I don't want to be a roofer and nothing against the roofers, right? God bless
Yeah,
them.
no, that's hard
I
ass
don't want
work,
to
man.
be I don't want to be humping the 80-pound tiles up on the roof and working in the sun. And these guys are in the field. They're in winter conditions. They're in indoor. They're in an existing office. They're in brand new construction, and then they transition. Once final finishes are up, to finalizing the installation, programming it, and making it work. And then we've got customer training. So we have so many trajectories around whether it's the helper tech helping the pull wire, it's the intermediate tech that knows the systems and knows how they work. As my grandfather would say, know where the hose goes, right? You got to kind of be able to see mind's eye view. You got to know how it works.
Yeah.
And then programming requires some technical capabilities beyond how to use your screwdriver or your punch down tool. And we're really proud of the workforce that we have and that we've developed over the 15 plus years that we've been, really in business.
Yeah. How many people do you guys have working for you over there?
34, and I think we've got head count. I think we're going to add three more this year. We're accelerating. We've really gotten some traction in the last few years. And like any business, we didn't struggle early on. We just
Hmm.
every dollar was a good dollar, and anything that came our way, we did. And it took us a while, to kind of figure out you should focus on the core stuff and be really good at that.
Hmm.
And in the last 5 years, pandemic aside, and even then, people have come to us. They know that we're experts. They know we're good quality, high quality, and we deliver on what we say. So, growing headcount now has become part of what our annual forecast is. And it's hard to find, the quality people, despite, as I said earlier, some really good feeder programs out there.
Hmm.
Trades people in general are in high demand. So it's not because they don't exist in our marketplace. It's because they're already fully gainfully employed in most cases.
Yeah.
And so, you talk about, going to the trades, and I know that's what this podcast is, focused on. Yeah. If I got an undergraduate degree from SUNY Albany, and I got a master's from RPI, and I'm proud of those sheepskins. But I wish I didn't. I I could have got farther if I just focused on the trade right from the get-go.
Yeah.
But maybe I wouldn't be the business owner either, right? So some of that I don't take away the college or the masters and honing your ability to have a good business mind,
Hmm.
but don't push the paper. Get out there and understand your trade, do it right alongside with your team, and then kind of go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, as far as you said you started in, was it 2007?
Yeah, or that's when we first, my partner and I got together, and we both worked in professional services. We worked for a large bank on the technical side. So we both came from a completely, like I said, college graduates, hey, we're going to go be part of the executive management program for a certain bank that we would all know. And we did that a few years, and my partner got an opportunity kind of laid out in front of him, and he came to me and he said, "Hey, I don't want to go in business unless I got somebody like you." I guess he thought I was smart. I don't know why he thought that. Um, and he said, "Is this interesting to you?" And I said, "Sure." And we kind of part-timed it for a little bit, and then he jumped in full, both feet, and then I followed him a couple years later, and yeah, we came out of a professional services and went, hey, we can do this, and developed it
Yeah.
from there.
Well, and that was going to be, you kind of touched on both of the questions I was going to ask. Is one, like, what how or why did you guys get into this industry? And then the other one was going to be, what did that transition look like when you decided to become business owners? Like I think you said you worked part time, kind of doing it on the side, and then
Yeah,
so let's unpack both of those real quick, just so our
sure.
listeners can hear it. As far as getting started, what was it that really, and what's your partner's name? I'm sorry.
His name is Bob
Bob.
Gilroy. Yep.
Bob came to you. What was it that an opportunity was put in front of Bob, and that's what it was, or
Yeah. He had not to take up a lot of time, but he had a neighbor who had he was in the telecommunications space, delivering what we would call tap to set infrastructure, right? And that's coming from the telephone pole to the house and delivering services for MSOs or system operators. We would know them today as Time Warner, Verizon, Comcast, those types of telecommunications operators. And he had a business out of his garage. And he had a couple guys working for him part time, 1099, not doing anything right. Labor laws, be damned, right?
yeah,
None of
yeah.
it matters. Just go to work, right? And I'll buy you a six pack at the end of the day, kind of thing, right? Um, and he came to us one day. We were all up at the lake, you know how this goes, and said, "I got an idea." And Bob was the first one to say, "I think we can make a go out of this, right?" He's got a couple guys. What he needs is professional, I don't know, forecasting. He needs, he literally is just kind of bouncing from one job to the next on a day-to-day basis. He's not looking out, in front of him. And I think we could bring that. And I said, maybe, and of course, when you're 30 something, the world is, like doesn't matter. You've got all the energy and it was exciting. And so we decided that if we could get a contract with another one of those operators that I mentioned earlier, we could make a go out of this, and that's exactly what we did. We went out in typical entrepreneurial style. We hustled and we beat down the doors of some folks out in central New York, and here we are, living in Saratoga and Schenectady, respectfully.
Mhm.
And we were, the first opportunity we got was in Syracuse. And we just said, so what? We'll drive to Syracuse every day. And that's what we did. My partner and I drove to Syracuse like you go to, to Crossgates Mall from Guilderland, right?
Mhm.
Like no big deal. And we went out there and we hired some folks and we got a contract, hired some folks and just built it from there. And a couple years in, we decided that just doing the work for a system operator, maybe we should be more focused on what it is that we can, what's our brand, what's important about what we're doing, because really we're just taking an order and doing a job. It's transactional. And we got our master alarm license and formed Shepherd as a brand off of the original LLC, and just very slowly started to work on the Shepherd, the why Shepherd, what do we do as Shepherd, fire alarm, electronic security, cameras, etc. And it wasn't truly until probably about 2017 or 18 that we recognized that we really needed to be in control of our own destiny and not rely on the system operators to be like, hey, here's a bunch of work, go hire 10 people and go do it. Because you're really at the whim of their own business cycle. And as an entrepreneur, you really want to be in control of your destiny, and you want to be in control of your cash flow, and you want to be in control of your liability exposures, right? So it was an eye-opening experience to have what we consider built a business, but we really built the business around another business, and we were a true remora fish, just waiting for somebody to hand me. When at our peak, I think we did about 60,000 installs a year for some of these operators. We did a lot of work. We had probably 80 vans on the road. And it wasn't until we got smaller and more intentional that we actually really started to move from a lifestyle business to an enterprise business. And we went backwards for a few years, right? We thought we were so cool and we made some money, and It was great, but I just said it. We had 80 plus people on the road. That's a lot of moving liability. That's a lot of exposure, 7 days a week, 365 a year. And when we became more intentional and smaller, we took a lot of that liability off the table, and that made our lives better, right? Quality of life kind of came back. And as an entrepreneur, in the trades, you got to balance that. Is it me grinding every day and chasing every day, or do I want to set up something that again is lifestyle is great in the beginning, but if I had to do it over again, I would have been building enterprise the whole way, right? How do I systemize? How do I make sure we've got a great training program and we're cross training and we're not just responding to the immediate need. We're thinking about what's out in the future and forecasting. And so that would be that would be one of those coaching moments that I would bring to the table, right? How do you think about tomorrow, even though the demands of today are taking up all of your brain space and all of your capacity? Because it took us a while to be able to unwind and get back to our core and what we can truly do in terms of, like I said, Division 27 and 28. And now, we have a couple thousand customers. Most of them are on a recurring subscription. We own our destiny. We have enterprise value, and every day we're increasing that enterprise value. Now we're building something, and now we've built something, and we're continuing to build it. And that's a great experience, not only as an entrepreneur, but to be able to now bring folks in, right? We've got a couple of young kids that we hired out of HVCC's program to plug them again. They're great, right? And they're building their trade skills. And my grandparents were tradesmen. Both my grandfathers, and they taught me the value of know the tool, know the work, mind's eye view. And it's great to now be a business where we're kind of bringing some of those values to bear as well.
This is a little bit of a divergence, but I just feel like there's really something impactful in what you're talking about. And what I want to understand is that refinement of who you are and what you do as an organization. I would love to understand what that process looked like for you guys, because it sounds like you kind of built one business for about 10 years, roughly
Yeah,
speaking,
yeah,
and
you
then
got it.
you made some decisions where you're like, hey, we don't want to continue to do this for a host of reasons, right? Whatever those
Yeah,
reasons are.
yeah.
But we want to do something else. I would love to hear what the process you went through was when you decided, like, hey, we've been going in this direction for 10 years. We want to change direction now and do a different kind of work, similar, but a different kind of work and for a different target market.
Yeah.
I would love to hear about like what that transition was.
Managing payroll and workers' comp shouldn't slow you down. PeopleEase PEO delivers a complete solution for hard-to-place workers' comp, seamless payroll, HR support, and benefits management, built specifically for blue and gray collar industries. From pay-as-you-go workers' comp to streamlined onboarding, compliance, and competitive benefits, PeopleEase will help you stay protected, efficient, and focused on the job. Visit peopleease.com or call 941-224-8981 to learn more. Make sure you ask for Nick.
I would love to hear about like what that transition was.
Sure. Well, they say that what is it? The mother of innovation is the adversity, right? So we came upon a moment in our own in the business cycle. I think both for our client at the time, our clients, they were moving from a buy, a build versus buy. In other words, most of their delivery method was through service partners like us. And at some point, they decided that they were going to start delivering their services through their own in-house technician cadre. And yet they were still going to need us, but they were only going to need us in certain instances, in certain parts of maybe the region, and only for certain types of work. And that took a revenue stream, fully loaded, let's say, at X amount, and it carved it into maybe 15 or 20% of what we were, just yesterday, and almost that quickly too. And in that moment of vulnerability, we were like, we've got all these employees, we've got the work vans, we know how to use the tools, and we have a master alarm license. What are we doing? We're doing a few jobs here and a few jobs there. We need to really focus and kind of turn. Let's understand who wants to be in this trade, right? Because it's one thing to do telecommunications from like I said, tap to set, and it's another, as I pointed out earlier in the conversation today, to be able to run the wire, mount the equipment, program the equipment, train the customer, right? There's some extra elements there, and not everyone was, aligned to that in the workforce at the time. So, we really started to focus. We hired a couple of salespeople. We kind of we recapitalized, if you will, and said, okay, we need to invest in this channel. And then we started all over again with making mistakes, and you don't really have the right person going after the opportunities. It required a lot of relationship building, and it was a strenuous, stressful, and quite frankly, we probably ran the ship aground a dozen times. As we transitioned from, we have all this work coming at us, from a couple of concentrated client sets, to we have to go out and do it on our own. But we made it through. And we made it through because, perseverance. We're both myself and my business partner are, grit, and we don't give up. And, when you're on the goal line, you punch it up the middle. And that's what we both kind of came from. And we hired some great people. Pandemic, in our case, quite frankly, opened the door on a couple of folks that we hired. And I guess, the other coaching element here is, when you're hiring, it's so critical to really understand who you're hiring. We didn't even know that we hired a couple of superstars until they emerged within our organization. They were looking for an opportunity. The pandemic created a ripple effect. They needed a job, and we were willing, we were like, okay, well, that's good. Let's do this. And we hired someone on the sales side that brought an enterprise mindset to the two of us, who were very transactional, tactical, chaotic, just do this moments, right? Which a lot of, that again, when you're a startup in the trades, or when you're a startup entrepreneur, you're just trying to get through the day. And we carried a lot of that forward. Even though we had 10 years of business experience, we carried some of that, a lot of that forward. And the individual that we hired came on and started to transform our business from a, hold on, let's think this through. And here's how we can approach this. And here's how we should focus. And here's our core capabilities. And we knew it all, but we just didn't. And I was the biggest offender, right? Any job was a good job. Any contract was a good opportunity, irrespective of what the net outcomes were. And it changed how we look at things, and how we talk about things, and how we are mindful now of what we're doing. So that was really, I don't think I got into the detail of the transition that you were looking for, but that's kind of the Cliff Note version, right?
Yeah.
The main client we had said, we're going to do it a little differently. That took us from 10 to 2, in terms of scale. And we went, what do we do? And then an opportunity, a door opened for someone to walk in and help. And we had, being closely held entrepreneurs, closely held business, private enterprise, no capital, bootstrap the thing from day one. This is all about us. It's not about you. And somewhere, somebody looked down on us and tapped us both on the shoulder and went, open your minds, right? Be a little more aware of, you're gonna need some help here. And I'm not trying to be too ethereal, but I believe that we had we had a moment where, a couple people who joined us really have been impactful to the business, and we were able to embrace it. And I think that's, again, another coaching moment. If you are like, no, we're doing it like this, that we use the recipe and don't change it, you got to be a little more open to that, because people, whether they're tradespeople or administrators or managers or staff members, whatever the case may be, they want to be able to give the opportunity. They want to be able to bring contribution to the table, and when you give them that pathway and that ramp, typically good things can happen. And you set maybe some goals or standards, and then you let them be broken, right? You kind of you just be flexible, and I think that's been the key to now our Act Two success: flexible, open, and trusting. And that was probably the hardest thing to do, right? Get over the trust. This is our business. All of our personal investment, all of our, something goes wrong, the liability falls right in my lap, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's an LLC, and we've got structure, and we've got all the necessary insurances, but work comp, Department of Labor, they'll pierce right through and grab you by the neck. And those are scary moments when those things, might truly happen. And so that's how we kind of transitioned. Right people, being open, and still bringing that hustle and grind to the table. Anybody who thinks it's just I got a better mousetrap and it's just gonna fall in my lap, not the way it works. You got to go out and get it, prove it, deliver it, and prove it again, and then you get some traction. And we've got big customers that I think if we didn't prove, we weren't tenacious, and I didn't, I sometimes think about some projects. I think I had a personal ego in this, but early in that transition, there was some big projects going on in the region, and I'm like, I'm going to drive by this location every day on my way home, and if we aren't part of this project, I know for a fact it's gonna eat at me, and I'm not going to be a failure here. And I hounded, and I went after it, and we landed it at a time when we probably weren't capable. No, sorry, they took a chance on us, and we delivered, and we scaled as a result of it. And that's one of those entrepreneurial moments that if you're not willing to jump off the cliff and not knowing whether it's water or trees, you got to be able to do that.
And when you say that, what I'm hearing is the job that you were trying to getting was probably beyond anything you had done to that point, even though you knew you could do it.
Yeah.
Right. You had the skill sets, but you hadn't done anything like that yet. And you're like, we're going to figure this out.
It's the classic act as if, right? It's 10x bigger than what we've ever done, but it's what we do. So let's, and I needed and I knew that if I didn't get the opportunity, like I said, it was going to be a mushroom in one of those locations where first this went up, then that went up, then another thing went up, and 15 buildings later, it would just drive me nuts, right? It's like it's like the stock pick that somebody tells you to buy. You're like, nah, I'm not doing that. Tesla, what? Apple, stupid.
Oh. I'm curious. Now, you guys go to your website. You have a lot of stuff on there. You guys do a lot of things, and I'm curious as to how, when you made that transition from Act One to Act Two, as you called it. I'm sure you didn't add all of that stuff right at the beginning of Act Two, right?
We didn't.
What?
We didn't.
I guess what I want to ask about is how you've been moving and evolving through your marketplace and adding services based on different factors. I'd love to hear about what that decision making looks like for you. You started with whatever the one service is, and then you started to grow into other things. I guess the question I want to ask is, when you're looking at the market and what's happening, what tells you, hey, we should look to move into this? We should start doing this as well. Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah, no, thank you for the question. So, we recognized we grew up in this business around whatever was at the end of the wire is, is where the meat and potatoes is, right? But
Mhm.
everything has a wire going to it, right? Like truly. Um, and so whether it's a network Cat 5, Cat 6 line, or Cat 6, Cat 7 now, or it was a coax line way back in the beginning, or it's an 18.4 conductor leg. The wire is what we focused on originally. Hey, we can do all the wiring, and you can have somebody else do the rest of the work. And
Mhm.
we recognized that was it was impactful to the conversation, but people didn't want two trades to kind of, okay, they're going to do the wire because they're really good at it, but somebody else is going to trim it out and finish it. So we recognized early on that we needed to kind of get some of those skill set training. So, we got Honeywell certified on the fire alarm side and the perimeter alarm. We had some camera manufacturers that we got certified on. Access control, same thing, right? And so we made the decision, since those are kind of the three or four core elements in the low voltage world.
Mhm.
Division 2728 is about copper or fiber data cabling, right? Network wiring, access point, anything to make data transmit. And then it's about the life safety system, fire alarm, and then, all your other electronic security, access control, surveillance camera, perimeter alarm. And so we just looked at those two divisions and kind of said, okay, let's get certified. Let's get some of our technicians certified in some of this activity. And then I've always been kind of the guy, I can sell, but I need to sell knowing we're experts. And
Mhm.
when I'm confident in who we are, I can portray that. And I think that's compelling on the sales cycle side. So that was kind of how we got down the path of what do we start with, and those are the four things. But we kind of always started the conversation off with, we can do the data cabling, we'll run all your phone lines, we'll run all your network jacks, we'll do all your access points, and then customers kind of came back at us and said, hey, will you, do you sell phone systems? Which, by the way, we did that for a minute, right? Some of the things that are, I think, on the website are now like, sure, we can, but we focus on really those core elements. And I
Mhm.
just said them, right? Data cabling, whether it's fiber or copper, fire alarm, access control, cameras, and perimeter alarm. During the pandemic, we had a gentleman join our team, a young guy, but he was wicked smart. And he was always playing with, hey, I had, this manufacturer send me a camera and I connected it to a box and I think we can do, elevated temperature sensors and, we can make our own. And so we did that and we kind of created our own kit and we went and we put them at HVCC and we put them at a couple different large institutions and, we got some traction. And so for a minute we had our advanced technology group and, we had some kind of cool technology stuff that was helpful during either pandemic or coming out of it. We actually had this DNA product for a minute where, if jewelry stores were our target market, and we had this kind of invisible, or not invisible, but this colorless, liquidous, odorless rather, spray that if you came through the entryway of the high value target, like a jewelry store, when the alarm was on, it would spritz you. It would actually, irradiate your shirt, your head, your hair, whatever, with a nanoparticle. And then under a microscope, the canister, had a serial number 1298654. And then if I look under the microscope, your shirt's got 1298654. So there was this whole chain of custody. And, like, yep, you're the perpetrator because, kind of like the old fire alarms. If you pull the fire alarm, it got your fingerprint, right?
Yeah.
Similar kind of, but modern technology. And it was kind of cool. We got this thing out of Europe. We got an exclusive deal to be the integrator, and we're going to catch on fire and take the world over. And we sold a couple systems and, didn't go very far, but it put us on the map We had some great press. We recognized the value of investing in a little bit of PR at the time, and we caught some traction. And then that caught the eyes of other large customers. And those large customers said, "Hey, what we need is access control on our 15-story building, and it's 200 doors. Just focus on that." And then we really kind of just honed that skill. So if you come into our office, I think I learned this, walking into any ASC, mechanic shop, right? All the certifications are on the wall. I'm like proud of the sheepskins kind of thing, right? And we've got some highly trained and highly capable guys now, and we are experts in, doesn't matter how that door needs to be controlled. We know how to do it, whether it's a mag lock, electric strike, rim lock, whatever the case may be. Cameras, we carry now camera lines that are highly augmented with artificial intelligence, and they're smart about what they're looking at, and they're isolating. If you want to find video from a week ago of the guy in the plaid shirt like you're wearing today, I'm only going to bring back video of the guys in the plaid shirt that came through this field of view. So instead of taking 2 hours of, I wonder if they're in this video clip, I'm going to look at all the video I have from this particular camera. I can return images in 3 minutes, that you can go, yep, right there. There it is. That's where it happened. So that's pretty impactful to our clients. And that's kind of what, again, the client has said, how can I do this better? So we've gotten good at listening to the client's pain points, if you will. And in the security space, in the electronic security space, the conversation is more relevant than ever, and not to catastrophize the conversation right now, but, everything's a soft target potentially. And I don't leverage that in anyone's, I don't put that out there. I'm not I don't sell with fear, but it's real. And people want to know that they're protected. Employees want to know that they're coming to a building in which the employer or the owner of the building has taken steps to make sure that when they're head down, not paying attention, they're safe. And that's really, well beyond the state code of having a fire alarm in a given building, depending on occupancy and classification. People now demand, at the very bottom of the organization, to know that my employer has taken steps to protect me, that no one can just get in the building, that if I'm out in the parking lot, there's a camera that maybe, who hit my car. So these are, kind of basic things now. And we've just kind of continued to augment or enhance each one of those systems to be smarter.
Rich, I know that we're pressed for time and we gotta wrap up. I have like 100 more questions for you though, so we're gonna have to do this again, man.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Good to have you back.
I'm happy to do it. I hope I didn't over talk everything, but I'm happy to keep coming on and being, we can kind of deconstruct every phase of what we've done or deconstruct certain portions of the business. I'm happy to share.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that there's a lot more that we could unpack in that conversation.
Cool.
Really grateful for you to come on the show. If people want to learn more about Shepherd Communications, where do they find you guys?
Yeah, so we're in the Albany area. Our main office is in Colony on Railroad Ave. We have a physical brick and mortar. We're always happy to meet with people where they stand. So we're always able to come to your office or your warehouse or your location. But digitally, it's shepherdcny.com. So www.shepherdcny.com. You can find us on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. So we don't do a lot of social media. LinkedIn's probably the best connect, or come right to our site like you already have.
Awesome. Rich, thanks again. Really appreciate it. We're definitely going to circle back around here, get you back on the show. Appreciate the time today.
Michael, thank you very much for insightful conversation. Derek, thanks for making sure I showed up today. So thanks.
And that wraps up another episode of Blue Collar Startup. A big thank you to our sponsors, 5 Towers Media, Daigle Cleaning Systems, Daigle Fire Solutions, The Michaels Group, Martin Electric, MLB Construction, Bonaccio Construction, Peoplease, and Catamount Consulting for making this podcast possible. And thank you for tuning in. If you learned something or felt inspired, connect with us on our website at bluecollarstartup.io or email us at hardhat.bcsu@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your questions and topic ideas. Help us spread the word by sharing the show and following us on social media for updates. Until next time, keep on building, keep on dreaming, and keep hustling like your future depends on it.